everyone. Thank you very much for making it to this event. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the HIAS Entrepreneurship Workshop, which is the first of its kind. The title is Science, Innovation, Entrepreneurship, Interfaces and Frontiers. And we're very happy to have the support of the Latsis Foundation. We're welcomed here today in this wonderful space, as well as Endeavor, who has been supporting the event. We created this workshop as part of the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies through a shared aspiration to empower Greece's entrepreneurial community, to build bridges between science and business, between bold ideas and real-world impact. We think that we live in a moment of extraordinary opportunity where advances in artificial intelligence and biotechnology and more are reshaping our economies and the way in which we shape our lives. But turning these breakthroughs into meaningful ventures requires more than just innovation, and this is what this event is about, to create a call for a vision, an opportunity to ponder on strategic thinking, the shaping of resilient networks, and an ecosystem that can shape opportunities for Greece. So we hope to do this today through the panel discussions and the interactions that will follow. I welcome you to this gathering, and I take this opportunity to also now offer the floor to Professor Andreas Boudouvis from the National Technical University of Athens, who's also a founding member of HIAS and a former rector, and will give his input for the event. So please come to the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Eleni, for the introduction. Dear invited speakers and guests, colleagues and friends, and students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies, HIAS, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to this one-day workshop on science, innovation, and entrepreneurship, interfaces and frontiers. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking the Latsis Foundation for its generous support and hospitality. Eva Lianou has always been very supportive of HIAS activities. Also, the organizers from HIAS, Eleni Hadji, carried the heaviest load of the organization, and together with Petros Koumoutsakos, Dora Varvarigou, Nikos Paragios, and Liza Konofagou, they did a great job. Yannis Gigounakis and the volunteer students from NTUA helped a lot. Please join me in thanking them for their contribution. As Eleni mentioned, HIAS is a young institution founded in 2021 by scientists of Hellenic origin in the diaspora and their colleagues in Greece. At its heart, HIAS exists to foster scientific excellence and build bridges between Greece and the global Hellenic academic and scientific community, and across disciplines, tackling society's most pressing challenges, from energy and climate to education, health, and beyond, as they pertain to our country. And may I announce the establishment of HIAS Greece, the branch of HIAS in Greece and Europe, which aims at strengthening and facilitating the efforts of the mother institutions, especially in networking and in fundraising. This workshop reflects our mission in action. It brings together researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs to discuss how these domains can and must work together to deliver real impact. And we are not starting from scratch. There are proven models on how science can be translated into innovation and innovation into enterprise. Our task is to learn from these models, adopt and adapt them thoughtfully in Greece, not to reinvent the wheel. Now Greece does reasonably well in producing good research, especially given the challenges of limited and fragmented funding. But we face a chronic gap in turning that research into innovation and entrepreneurship. One dimension of that is structural. The tight control of universities by the state and a historical discomfort with academia engaging the entrepreneurial world. But another dimension is cultural, a mindset that still fears risk and punishes failure, where trial and error is too often viewed as defeat rather than discovery. This environment is part of what drives the brain drain, one of Greece's most painful realities in recent decades. So many bright minds, many of you here today, found opportunities abroad because the conditions at home were simply too limiting. HIAS was in many ways born as a response to this, not to reverse the brain drain by force, but to reconnect the brain network, to turn loss into linkage. These workshops is one of on such connection. There are issues that are not unique to Greece. There are issues in Europe, and the recent Draghi report says it all loud and clear. Even in countries where the innovation ecosystem is thriving, such as the United States, there are growing concerns. We cannot ignore recent developments that threaten the autonomy of academic institutions, even at the most esteemed universities. Some of our speakers today are from such US institutions, and I know they understand deeply what is at stake when science, politics, and ideology become entangled. And speaking of speakers, we are honored to be joined by a group of truly outstanding minds from Greece and abroad, from academia, policy, and industry. I must make a gentle spotlight, if I may, on our guest, Pushmit Kohli from Google DeepMind, who could not make it here today due to unforeseen complications, but he will join online in the next panel. He comes from a remarkable institution at the frontier of AI and scientific discovery. It's rare to have someone who lives and breathes the cutting edge, quite literally, of how science transforms into real-world impact. But of course, each of our speakers and panelists brings unique and essential perspectives to this conversation. Before I close, I want to touch briefly on a reality we all recognize. HIAS cannot operate on vision alone. We need support for both the public and private sectors to sustain and grow our initiatives. So let us use today to listen, exchange, challenge each other, and above all, to imagine together how Greece can better harness its research potential in service of a more innovative, entrepreneurial, and hopeful future. Thank you all again for being here today.
Thank you, Andreas. With this, I would like to welcome to the podium Mr. Marco Veremis, who's representing the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises as president of its Innovation Committee and member of the Board of Directors, and who will offer for us today a few reflections on the role, initiatives, and challenges of Greek industry in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for the kind invitation. I read a quote yesterday by a sort of science fiction writer, William Gibson, that captures very much the way both Sev and myself view this moment in history, which is that the future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed. Now, let me explain. I've been in software all my life, 25 years. And honestly, what I've been seeing in the last couple of years is the greatest reset I have ever seen. It's a massive opportunity, AI primarily, and not just large models, and not just essentially big tech, but small tech as well as smaller models to level the playing field. There are not many opportunities in human history where where the field can be leveled, and this is one of them, right? So this unequal distribution of the future essentially favors I would say, not necessarily the biggest and the strongest, but the most determined, agile, and inventive, right? And my sense, being very much part of the tech ecosystem in Greece, is that some of our misfortunes, like the crisis and the brain drain and all these things, have a very good opportunity to become advantages at this particular moment in time. Because we have a lot of young entrepreneurs who are sufficiently humble, sufficiently hungry, sufficiently cosmopolitan, and sufficiently determined to do things right now, build companies. To give you a sense of how SEV has quantified this trend in the past 5 years, Greece hardly had a tech ecosystem for I think, decades, right? Like Mao said, you know, often there are decades when nothing happens and then weeks when decades happen. This has been a bit, you know, relevant, I would say, to what's happened in the tech ecosystem in Greece. From zero, you know, this is a tech ecosystem that now employs probably over 20,000 people. It is an ecosystem that is now worth over 10 billion, if you put the market caps of all these tech startups. And most importantly to the mission of this organization, I think it has been a great connector of two separate things. First of all, the diaspora with Greece, and I'll explain how. And the second is research with action, right? These are two things that have always been missing in Greece. We've always been complaining that, you know, how well Greeks do when they leave the country, but then really only come back for holidays. This is changing. Right? The diaspora is now very actively setting up excellence centers here, teams here, and it makes sense for them to do so because places like Boston, like New York, like London, like Zurich have become very difficult places to build a company. Just to give you a sense, the starting salary of a developer these days in the States is over $200,000, right, out of university. The equivalent in Greece is about 30. But most important, the average stay of a developer right now in the US is less than a year. The average stay in Greece is over 4 years, right? So if you're trying to build a company and your vision is to become a global player and you're trying to do that in Boston, you're going to have serious challenges in terms of creating this initial team that will then venture forward to conquer the world. And Greece is looking more and more like an interesting place to do it, not for emotional reasons only, to be able to, you know, have your kids see their grandparents, but also for very practical reasons that it just makes sense, right? So this is the first point. The second point is there has never been such an opportunity to convert research and academic knowledge into business. Never before has this been the case as much as it is today. Just to give you a sense, out of the 40 companies my venture capital fund has invested, I would say that about 30 of these people are postdocs, right? This was not the case a few years ago. First of all, postdocs usually went on to pursue an purely academic career, didn't touch business. These days, they are launching their own startups. They are realizing I guess the joy of creating something from nothing, right? And something tangible that will live in the form of a team, in the form of a company, in the form of a product, in the form of clients. And, you know, this special joy was something that escaped this country for decades. People didn't get it. Why is entrepreneurship so good? Well, it's not just about profits and buying a yacht, right, or a house. It's mostly about having this blessing of converting an idea into reality, right? And this is, I think, very much happening today. So we need to be, I think, very practical about some of the biases that still exist in Greece. You know, I think there's still clearly a bias towards, I'd say, theory over practice. There's certainly a bias or a conflict between doing well in business and doing good for a country or a society. There's a lot of conflicts like that still, but the more we have examples of companies that break through and conquer global markets, you know, the more these conflicts will resolve themselves. Because, again, and I'll end with this, looking at the Draghi report, which I think, along with the Letta report, were stating things that we all knew, but had never been expressed with such clarity. I will say one thing that did impress me. It kind of captures the point. You know, why did in 2010 the European Union have the same GDP as the US? And 15 years later, the US is 1.5 times larger than the EU. And there's one compelling explanation in that report, the most compelling explanation, to do with a massive underinvestment in science and technology. And the function is of the order of 10x, right? It's a massive, massive difference between these two continents. And I think it also underlines something very important that is pretty much captured well by the way pension funds behave. Pension funds, theoretically, are almost like an encapsulation of what the past generations have put aside and what use what use do they make of this capital for the future. The Americans the pension fund supports 70% of total assets under management for venture capital, 70%. The equivalent number in Europe is less than 6%. This tells you the story. The Americans have showed confidence in the future. They have shown confidence in what is coming. And Europe has really stuck to what they know, what has worked in the past, invested in traditional industries. And this is very much to the point where we have been left behind. I think now, with the current administration, geopolitical change in the world, this is the greatest blessing in disguise we've ever had. It's a wake-up call for us to really take things sort of more quickly, solve problems, and whether it be defense, like rearm, I think they call it now. What's the name now? Yeah. 800 billion over the next decade to be deployed, things like that. It's a great opportunity, and the Hellenic Federation of Industry is there to both energize with technology and science the existing larger companies in Greece, but also to really encourage the younger companies that are emerging and could, at some point, make this country a significant tech hub. So with that, thank you very much, and congratulations for this wonderful initiative.
Thank you very much for setting the stage, and we'll close this opening address with an input from Mrs. Eva Lianou, who's the General Manager at the Latsis Public Benefit Foundation. They are our hosts for today, so I would like to ask you to join us in the podium. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Latsis Foundation, it is a great pleasure to welcome you today to Palace Athena, a landmark building, once the center of John Latsis' entrepreneurial activity, and today a symbol of our ongoing commitment to dialogue and collaboration. We are especially pleased to gather in the Elastphos Hall, named by Captain John Latsis himself, a name that reflects his deep emotional connection with Greece and his belief in its potential, not only as a country of rich history and tradition, but also as a source of talent, creativity, and inspiration. The foundation was established in 2005 by the family of John Latsis in his memory, with the purpose of preserving and advancing his philanthropic legacy, inspired by his enduring values, social solidarity, equal access to education and progress, and unwavering dedication to our country. The foundation continues to respond to evolving social needs through initiatives developed in partnership with organizations that share our vision of a resilient, inclusive, and forward-looking society. In fulfilling this mission, our work is structured around 3 strategic pillars: education and skills, social action and solidarity, and innovation and sustainable development. Within the latter, we actively promote entrepreneurship and support innovation across multiple levels, facilitating networking and synergies between academia, research institutions, and the real economy, while encouraging small-scale pilot initiatives aligned with the principles of sustainable development. It is in this spirit that our collaboration with the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies has steadily evolved over the past few years. Inspired by our shared vision and commitment to the common good, we have supported a growing number of initiatives, ranging from symposia and summer schools to focused activities and events such as the one we're hosting today. HIAS is driven by its members' deep sense of duty to place their scientific and technological expertise at the service of their homeland. It is our collective responsibility to honor their noble contribution by ensuring the sustainability of this collaborative initiative of the Hellenic diaspora. We must seize this momentum to transform HIAS into a lasting islet of innovation and excellence, bridging the gap between academic achievement and entrepreneurial opportunity. This is both the least and the most we owe to the younger generations of talented Greek scientists and entrepreneurs who deserve a nurturing environment to thrive. It is our duty to provide it. And on that note, I wish you all a productive and inspiring day, and I look forward to the panels and discussions that will follow. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for hosting us. We will close the first part of this morning's session with the framing of the current situation point in Greece. And for this, we welcome Mr. Vassilis Antoniades, who's the regional leader of the financial institutions practice in Central Europe and the Middle East for BCG, and a member of BCG's Global CEO Advisory Council. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I have to start by a huge thank you to Dora Varvarigou, to Petros Koumoutsakos, and to Andreas Boudouvis, because they approached me 2 years ago to explain what they were trying to do. And today we will be hearing about a lot of startups and about a lot of entrepreneurial efforts. But very quickly, after the first discussion with Dora, I understood that this is a selfless effort that they are making, trying to help their country in the very busy schedules that they have, and for many of them committing time from abroad, spending time here, and also trying to bring the latest and greatest and the best that the intellectual capital of Greeks abroad can bring by doing every 6 months this seminar. So I was extremely honored to join the effort and help in any possible way. I was also honored to ask today to present where things are in Greece, and in many respects, Marcos Veremis, I don't know where he sits, he preceded me, because in 2018, as part of an effort of the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises, Marcos and his teammate asked us to do mapping and also to put forward some proposals of how the Greek startup ecosystem can start scaling up. And it was, the triggering point was, of course, that the European Union, I think, within the context of the crisis, was launching Equifund in Greece in order to start giving some funding to new efforts. So now it will look definitely a lot of common sense if I show you the 4 pillars that we came up together with SEV back then, with 19 proposals that were addressed to a government that was not so business-friendly, at the moment, but they certainly created a platform for discussion back then. And the first pillar was quite obviously that innovation is a team sport. You may have some entrepreneurs, you may have some innovative ideas, but if you don't have the academic ecosystem, if you don't have businesses embracing innovation with some specific proposals that we put forward, not a lot is going to happen. Secondly, and that was the toughest part to drive forward at the time, that there need to be a much friendlier approach from the government, especially when it relates to tax and regulation. This is an area where we had put several proposals that looked not so obvious at the time, but it's great to have seen that progress has been made. The third is that there were hundreds of thousands of talent that had left the country during the crisis, and how we can incentivize to bring them back. And the final one is that Equifund should be the start, but not the only source of funding, and how this can be incentivized. We are now in 2025, a much better year than 2018 or 2020, when we did the first update of the study. And what we can say is that a lot has happened on many fronts. I highlight Elevate Greece because at least there is a registry, and we know how many startups, in the true name of a startup, we have in Greece. And also it is much easier for investors or any stakeholder to connect with them today. But a lot has happened when it comes to how innovation is much more ecosystemic, with technology parks, efforts to develop even more, but also big investments on the technology front from large corporations as well, that some have progressed more, some less, but at least there is certainly a lot of progress. Secondly, in terms of tax incentives, golden visa, but also how to help Greeks or also non-Greeks come to our country and incentivize them beyond the nice weather. And last but not least, we see that there is the capitalization that Marcos mentioned before is truly impressive. From what we have seen in terms of public equity that has flown into Greek startups, it is quite significant, and certainly much, much higher than what it was 7 years ago when we started the effort, and that is extremely encouraging. The other thing that I would like to highlight is when I spoke about innovation being a team sport, and how academia, but also business needs to tag along. We see a lot of corporates, starting with EGG at Eurobank, but also Hellenic Energy recently started an effort, National Bank of Greece as well, that are serving as incubators and encouraging innovation as well. And this is certainly in the right direction. Last but not least, because everything, of course, is judged by the outcomes, we see that we have successful Greek startups, not only unicorns, but also several other ones that have been able to attract funding and be successful beyond Greece. And you see now an ecosystem that is developing in terms of venture capital firms, but also companies that are expanding their, so bringing venture capital beyond our country, but also expanding the reach beyond Greece as well. Lastly, we have tracked how funding is deployed, and although in the first years you see the violet bar, which was Series A, and of course gray and orange, which was earlier stage funding, we see that now a lot of the funding is for Series B, C, and D, which is very encouraging in terms of investing not only in very early stage startups, but also in later rounds. Now, this is the most difficult slide to read, but I think it is the most insightful as well, because what we have tried is we have taken by sector where these 900 plus Greek startups are mapped. And surprisingly enough, health tech and biotech is where the graph is most crowded. So we see a lot more efforts in the health tech and biotech effort. Also, in information technology, there is also significant efforts there that span on many, many areas, including cybersecurity, etc. There is a lot less where we would normally expect it, which is maritime, shipping, logistics, etc. Travel and tourism, which also signifies that there is also great opportunities in sectors where that drive significantly the GDP of our country to have much more startup activity, also in food and agriculture. But it is also extremely encouraging and telling to see that healthcare and biotech are at the forefront of Greek innovation, and there are many examples that are in this space, and also that we see a lot of progress on the deep tech as well. I can share this presentation. You will not be able to go through the small details, but it is more about showing the map and what innovation looks like in Greece these days, and drawing some first insights from this. Of course, it's not to say that everything is great and there is not a lot that has to be done. If I had to say what is the priority right now, if we go through these 19 proposals, we can double down on many of them. I would say the most important thing at this stage is to ensure that we have more efforts like HIAS, because it is a prime example of extroversion, of bringing the best of Greek talent into Greece and sharing latest and greatest thinking. Last year, there was a very impressive seminar in Demokritos around the applications of AI across many domains in the areas that we see here, including in healthcare, in deep tech, and beyond. And I think we need to hear, and the students, the researchers, the broader community needs to hear a lot more about this. But I think scaling up these and having more extroverted efforts like this is, I think, something that will make a very big difference. So I will conclude with this, and thanking you once again for the opportunity to be part of your great startup.
Thank you for the valuable input. I guess it's no coincidence that the focus themes for today are deep tech and health tech. And with this, we invite you to enjoy a bit of a coffee break, and then we're back at 10:30.